Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So there is a verse in the Quran that says that people and jinns were not created except to worship Allah. I did not create the jinns and humans except to worship me. This is one of the ayahs of Quran. But some people might understand this. They might understand worship, meaning that we should just spend most of our time in prayer or sitting on the floor making zikr and reading Quran. While these things are good, we should do them. This is not actually the meaning of this verse. And it's not actually the real meaning of worship. I mean, the real meaning of worship is actually obeying Allah in anything and everything that He has asked us to do. So it includes staying away from the things that we're asked to stay away from, and to do the things that we've been asked to do. This is worship. So a true worshipper is someone who's obedient to Allah. And they might not be praying a lot of extra prayers, but they are doing what they should be doing. For example, we have prayers 5 times a day. And if someone just does the obligatory prayers, that's enough to not have sin, to not have transgressed. I mean, there was once one of the Sahaba, I think he was a Bedouin, he asked the Prophet ﷺ that if he just did the obligatory prayers and he didn't do any extra prayers, is this enough? And he was told that yes. But obviously for us it's better to do extra deeds and extra good deeds, because sometimes, maybe we have some issue with some of our prayers. And I mean, why do we have these extra prayers, the sunnah and the nawafil prayers? We have them because sometimes there are things that we've done in the obligatory prayer that could make it not accepted, or it's not complete. Maybe we lose some sort of reward, because there are levels of getting reward in prayer. How much concentration you have in your prayer, and specific things can make us lose some reward, and we can regain this reward by doing extra prayers, nawafils and sunnahs. And also, for example, many of the sunnahs that we pray before the obligatory prayer, they're like preparing us. So, for example, if we go into the sunnah prayer or nawafil prayer and we lose our concentration a bit, we try to regain that so that when we go into the obligatory prayer, we have better concentration. So this is like a starting point, a preparation to go into the obligatory prayer and to do it completely, and to make up for the things that we've been negligent about in general. And this is the practice of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to do nawafil and so forth. But what I really wanted to explain was that the meaning of worship in Islam is far more than these ritual worships. I mean, we have the 5 pillars of Islam, which is the prayer, the fasting, the zakat, the hajj, and the shahada. These are the 5 pillars of Islam, as we all know. But and we have to do these things, and this is like the foundation. Because why are they called the pillars? They're like the foundation. They are important blocks that demonstrates this person is a Muslim, because they are doing these things. And obviously people get confused sometimes if someone is not praying but they're a Muslim. Like they start asking, are they really a Muslim or something? Because of these things. I mean, obviously someone who doesn't pray because they are lazy, we still call them a Muslim. But they're negligent. But the meaning of worship in Islam is far more encompassing. Like I said, it's all about how you live your life on a daily basis. And how much do you remember Allah in your daily basis? And when you go to do actions, are you doing the actions for Allah? Are you remembering Allah in your actions? Because, I mean, when we study fiqh, when we study the Islamic law, and when we study religion, it's not just telling us about prayers and fasting. We're told how to buy, how to sell, how to make contracts, like any other law. And we're told how to get married. We're given advice about who to marry, how to choose a partner. We're given advice about things that other people maybe don't have this kind of advice. For example, going to the bathroom. I mean, maybe some people, they think this is a very personal issue. Why would you be told to how to go to the bathroom, for example, and how to clean yourself, how to take a bath, about cleaning your clothes, cleaning your room, about learning and how to live your life. So we're given a lot of advice, and there are principles that we should follow. And we can make any action that we have worship when we make the intention that this is for Allah, or that we want to follow the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We want to take reward from doing something that he asked us to do or he told us to do. For example, we can do something very ordinary. We can brush our teeth in the morning. I mean, all of us, I hope, are doing this. And I think all people, Muslims and non-Muslims, this is the action that they are doing. Brushing their teeth in the morning, in the evening, and so forth. But, for example, if a Muslim wants to take reward from Allah, they can make the intention that they want to follow the Sunnah, because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he advised us a lot about the use of miswak. And I mean, yes, miswak is good, but also some shuyukh and some they say that, even if you use the normal toothbrush and toothpaste, you still get reward if you have this intention, because it's still cleaning your teeth. This is just the modern way. So if you use miswak or if you brush your teeth, if you have this intention to follow the sunnah, to follow the niyyah of the then you will get reward from Allah, inshallah. So this action that's daily routine will become worship. And the same thing with our other actions. For example, they will normally clean their room, for example, and this is something that all people all over the world have to do. They have to clean their house. So it's something normal, everyday thing, and it's kind of boring. A lot of people don't like this behavior, having to clean the house, having to wash the dishes, having to clean their clothes. It's kind of boring. But this can be a worship when you make your intention that you're going to have a clean home, you're going to have clean clothes, wash your dishes, because you value cleanliness, because this is what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave example of and what he taught. And there's a hadith that I saw quite a while ago, that a woman can get the reward of jihad just for cleaning her house, looking after her house. And obviously for a man as well, who's providing for his family, for his home, his work, if he does this with the intention to provide for his family for the sake of Allah, and so that they won't fall into haram things, they won't go after something that's not permissible, they won't go and try to steal, for example, they won't go and try to register in a nightclub to do dancing to get money, for example, to find the wrong ways to take money. So this man who's providing for his family is actually in a state of worship when he does it for Allah. For example, he finds the kind of work that is totally halal. There's nothing wrong in it, and the money he's getting is from a valid source. There's no interest. He's not stealing. He's not selling wrong things, haram things. For example, alcohol, pork, things that we're not permitted to use. For example, stolen goods. If he's not dealing with the wrong things and there's nothing wrong in his work, then he is going after the halal. And if this is his intention, he'll get reward from Allah. But of course, even if someone has a totally halal work, but they didn't have this intention, they just have this work and it happens that there's nothing haram in it. For example, someone they don't believe in religion, they don't believe in God, but they are a teacher, for example, and they're teaching English or they're teaching French or Arabic or any language. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing haram in this teaching. So it's clear, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's no intention. They're not intending to support their family. They're not trying to get the halal income so that they will not fall into sin, to go stealing or doing something wrong. They won't have this reward because there's no intention. We need to make something worship. We have to have the intention that we do it for Allah, or that we want the reward from Allah. We expect the reward from Allah. And that's why in many of our actions, we actually say the intention. I mean, obviously there's difference between the madahib. But in general, for example, if we go to pray, before we go to stand in the prayer, we make the intention that we're going to stand in this prayer for the sake of Allah, and we hope for the reward from Allah. And when we go to fast, for example in Ramadan, we make the intention that we're fasting for the sake of Allah, and we hope for the reward of Allah. We make these intentions, and often we make them verbally or clearly in our minds. And this is actually very helpful to make sure that there is an intention, because when we're doing something on a daily basis, we can forget about this. And this is what one of my teachers also mentioned to us women who wear the hijab. She told us that there's a difference between a woman who's putting on the hijab every day because her father told her, for example, or out of habit, just because in society she has to wear that. If she doesn't, people will say something, for example. So she's wearing hijab. That's part of the religion. It's good. But, for example, if she's doing that without any intention, like she's just putting something on her head because it's like a habit, and she's not really thinking about why, there's no intention then. So would you really get reward from that? Or she could be putting on the hijab because her father told her to do so, and she's afraid from her father. This is not for Allah, so there's no reward. Or maybe there is maybe sometimes someone is afraid from their father, but at the same time there is something in their heart that they're doing it for Allah, or because they're afraid from hellfire, or there's some reason related to religion, related to the command to wear that. So obviously Allah will give people reward based on what their intention is. So if you do have some intention, you will take some reward. But some people might not have any intention. So in this case, they will not have reward. So for this reason, she told us that we should, even when we wear the hijab, when we put on our clothes, we should try and make the intention to remember that we wear this hijab as a in obedience to the command of Allah, and to cover ourselves, because Allah asked us to do that, and we should try and keep this intention with us. And the same for men, when they have to lower their gaze or they have to do things, they make the intention, because many of the times we forget about this. So it becomes just normal routine because we're doing it every day, and we forget to make the intention. So we might not get the rewards from ibadah, for worship. And at the same time, we can make normal activities worship with this intention as well. If I want to eat, for example, this is something permissible. It's not good or bad. It's not haram or halal. I mean, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ advised us not to eat till we are really full. A believer eats with one stomach, we're told, and a non-Muslim or someone who's not concerned with these kind of things in religion, they might eat with 4 stomachs. This is meaning that some people, they're just very concerned with food and drink. As Muslims, we shouldn't be that concerned, but that doesn't mean that don't eat. We were created with the need to eat, and other things such as procreate and all the things of human beings. We shouldn't deny ourselves these things, but we can make the intention to be in worship even when we are eating, for example, because we eat to make our bodies strong, to make our bodies healthy, so that we can worship Allah more. And yeah, we may think that this worship is going to the prayer and so forth, but to do all the things that Allah has asked us to do, if we're all the time hungry and weak, we can't stand to do normal things. Some people, they pray sitting, for example, because they don't look after their health. They eat a bad diet. They don't sleep in the night, for example, and they're overweight. In the end, they have to pray sitting. And, maybe some people, they have reasons that are not in their control, but some people can control them. They can look after their health. And we should be doing that. If we have the intention to look after our health, to eat, to keep us strong, to keep us healthy and fit, so that we can serve our families, serve our communities, because all of this is worship. When we do that, we have reward from Allah. Eating is worship in this case. And sleeping also can be worship for the same reason. We can go to sleep without any intention, and that's okay. But it's not a worship. When we have no intention, we just want to sleep for ourselves, that's okay, it's allowed. But when we make the intention for Allah, when we make the intention that we're sleeping, because if we don't sleep, we will not be able to worship Allah during the day. We can't do our obligations, we can't concentrate, we can't memorize or read Quran, then we will be in worship even when we sleep. So these simple daily things, we can make them into worships just by having the intention. And this is why I think sometimes that people talk a lot about wasting time. But actually, in reality, if we had intentions for everything that we do, we will not waste any time. Because everything you do, everything we do, would be worship, and it would be for a reason. And I remember some years ago, I was once in the house of someone. I was actually working with them. But I was just sitting and I was just thinking of a problem that I was trying to solve in my head. And this old woman who I was working with, she saw me like that and she said, "What are you doing? You're just sitting doing absolutely nothing." But I told her, actually, I'm sitting thinking about this problem I'm trying to solve in my head. I mean, to me, I was doing something and I had the intention. Sometimes maybe we think that this this person is not doing anything, but they have an intention for something, or we think that we are wasting time, or someone is wasting time. But if they have an intention, they're not wasting time. I mean, to do something, it doesn't mean that you have to all the time be busy with your hands, or you have to be running around or talking. You can be sitting quietly, like I was doing at that time, just solving a problem, thinking about something, or even just meditating or making zikr. These are all things you would take a reward from. And they are all can be worship, you know. So we can turn we can turn all of our time into beneficial time in this way, and we can turn all of our behaviors into worship when we have these intentions. You know, when we do exercise, or when we make zikr, or when we are with our families, all of this can be worship. And I mean, there's one hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that one of the Sahaba asked, you know, he told some of the Sahaba that a person will take reward for having the relationship with his wife. And they were surprised and said, even if we have a relationship with our wife, we will take a reward. And he replied that yes, because if they had done this in haram, it would be haram, but they didn't. They got married in the they went the halal way. They got married, and now they're doing this thing they want to do, this halal relationship, in the proper way, the way that Allah asked. So their intention was halal. You know, they wanted to do something right. So their whole action and, you know, this relationship has become like worship. So we can make relationships with our families worship, with our spouses worship, with our children worship, with these intentions. And this is how we can avoid wasting time, and also wasting our activities and deeds, to make many intentions, so that, you know, on the day of judgment, you know, these daily routine things, they will all be there for us in terms of reward. And at the same time, we have to try and avoid having the wrong intentions, because on the other hand, we are told that some people will come with great deeds, you know, big deeds that people think are really great, but they did not have the right intention. For example, maybe a scholar will come. Maybe someone who's been reciting Quran will come on the Day of Judgment. Someone who's given charity. And these are really great deeds and really good things to do. I mean, it's very admirable if someone gives a lot of charity, gives a lot of money to people, helps people. Or someone who goes, they spend a lot of time learning religious knowledge to spread it, and to benefit people, and to give lectures and teach people their religion. This is very beneficial. And even going for jihad, we know that, for example, the martyr, the shaheed, normally he will go to paradise, but this is the condition that he was doing so for the sake of Allah. There are people, I mean, we're told in the hadith that even at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were people fighting in jihad. They did not have the intention for the sake of Allah. They were just doing it because they were doing it for the sake of their relatives, for fame, or to protect their family, to protect their country. And these are good intentions, but it's not for the sake of Allah. So this person will not get the reward of shaheed. Shaheed is when someone does something for the sake of Allah. And the problem is as well that if a scholar, or if we give charity, and we've done that because actually we want people to say we are a scholar, we learned Quran, we memorized Quran, or we gave a lot of charity. If we do this because we want people to say about us that we are good people, we are good Muslims, and we we deserve respect. This is something that's actually going to lead us to the hellfire, and that's quite scary. That these acts of worship that are so encouraged in the Quran, you can actually turn them in against you when you have the wrong intention. When you start making your intention for the world, to gain things from this life and from this world. And I'm not talking just about money, because, for example, if someone is really in need of money, for example, a scholar, he wants to dedicate his time for the sake of Allah, but maybe he can't support his family. If he goes to work in something else, maybe he can't support his family, and maybe he's not able to find another type of work. So maybe he can take enough to support his family, but it's still recommended that if someone has the ability that they can learn religious knowledge and teach religious knowledge and work in another area, for example, in selling products, um, working in setting up a business or doing something that benefits people. This is far better than taking money for teaching religion. And especially maybe you'll get more reward for doing something that's also beneficial to people as well. So these are the issues that the true meaning of worship is keeping Allah in our hearts and minds, and in our daily life, to keep our intentions clear for the sake of Allah. And there are degrees of this as well. I mean, there are some people that they will remember the hellfire. They will do things because they're afraid to go to hellfire. There are other people who will do things just because Allah said so, they will do it, or because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said so, they will do it. And some people will do it because they love Allah, they love the religion, and they're totally convinced. So there are different degrees and intentions, and the more you do it out of love, and the more we do it out of wanting to be closer to Allah, this is far more reward as well than just being afraid from the hellfire. And you get more enjoyment as well. I mean, there's a difference between doing something out of fear and doing something out of love. Even if, for example, a woman is obeying her husband out of fear, it's different that if she was obeying him out of love. Out of love, she will feel benefit from that, and she will do it in the best way. She will try and give anything, of her time. And not just a woman, a husband as well. If he deals with his wife out of love, it's different that he does it because of out of obligation. So if we try and cultivate in ourselves this love for Allah, everything will become easier, and it's far easier to have these intentions to turn ordinary daily activities into worship, and to remember Allah in our worship and in our daily lives. So we ask Allah that He help us to do that, and He makes things easy for us. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.